I was told to ask you if you think that Gramstad is locked in at the number 2 spot next season.
What?
Yeah. Is that what you think?
Oh, I mean, I think if I had to put a pecking order out right now, yeah, I'd say right now, but no, not locked in. No, not locked. He'd have to win it. I'd make him the favorite at this moment.
The favorite at this moment?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you like to redo phase 1 and get people's votes now?
Maybe we have to.
Remember, last year, Nebraska famously made it through the season without, losing a starting quarterback for any significant period of time. That doesn't happen very often.
You got, you see what TJ Lateef has. Probably there's some physical maturity that has to happen there, and I don't know. I mean, Davila is just sort of an unknown, except I always tell Sean Callahan, Davila was his high school career, I'd say, was at least equivalent to Kalen's, if not better. So, I mean, you can't. I think it'll be a competition, but Gramps doesn't. He's a grown man. He's played a lot of football, so I think you would give him the edge right now.
I think you guys are both selling Bodie Sukup way short.
Perhaps.
Way short. By the way, I was looking at, and if you haven't seen it yet, the good folks at Husker Online have provided an easy to read, just like the instructions on Matt's bed, updated roster chart, scholarship chart.
Oh, this is good.
So that you can track, because as we sit today, it's at 134 dudes, and Nebraska, of course, has to get down to 105 in terms of and this is the roster, not scholarships, roster. But currently, Nebraska is sitting on 6 quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's a good. I'm glad you mentioned it. Sean Callahan put that together. It's a great service.
It is.
It's something that I look at every day. It's good. You can really size up where they're at that way.
I mean, it's a little dated. He's got Dave Remington there on the offensive line, but other than that,
no, he doesn't.
No, he's done really. It's a great service. If you look at it, it's currently 6 quarterbacks, 7 running backs, 17 receivers. And when I say running backs, actually it's 11 running backs because he's got 4 listed as fullbacks. And remember, Josh, fullbacks are running backs.
Yeah.
9 tight ends, 21 offensive linemen, 18 defensive linemen, 16 linebackers, 29 defensive backs, and 7 listed under special teams.
Yep. That DB's number's got to come down for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's not going to be easy.
No, it won't.
It won't be easy to get down to 105.
Hey, Sip, what's the good word with Mike Eckler? Like, how much of this is him pining or Nebraska fans pining because they know the name and they remember him and he jumped really high that one time in that cool picture? How much of this is real?
It's real to the extent that, I mean, I always got to be, I got to be a little careful. I'm not Mike Eckler's spokesperson, but especially because you're speaking for Bill Bush right now. So I mean, you're working 2 sides of the same street here. Thankfully, Bill speaks for himself. He can right now. Eckler, I believe that Eckler would take the job if offered. I mean, it kind of starts with that. I just didn't know. I don't know if he's on. Now, I can't say for certain if he's on Matt Rule's radar or not. I don't know. I would think he is, just based on his resume, which is really impressive. If you look at it, I mean, I just look at one thing. I don't look at one thing, but one thing that might resonate with people is that in 4 seasons of leading Tennessee's special teams units, they had 1 kick block, 1 punt block, and that's it. 1 punt block in 4 years, no field goals or PATs blocked 4 years. That should resonate. What's really odd, and I didn't emphasize this enough, and it is odd, Tennessee does it with freshmen and walk-ons because Heupel doesn't believe in using starters. And that's very rare.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all of this that Eckler has accomplished is with freshmen and walk-ons. And again, very rare. I'm not saying it doesn't happen other places, but you can't find many. you won't find many.
I can't recall, and I think you're right, Sip. I mean, it's not like we measure how coaches react to special teams at every program, but it always seems to me that the common thought was, hey, we take, if you quote unquote take special teams seriously, that everybody has a role to play, from those seniors to the freshmen. And for if Heupel truly is this hard line about, hey, we don't want the starters messing around with this, that seems to go against conventional wisdom.
Yeah, except that he just doesn't want to risk anything. So yeah, I mean, I got to think it's rare.
I mean, I can't imagine Tom Osborne ever thinking that way.
Yeah, and I don't know. I wish I knew what Matt Rule's hot board was, but I don't have that, and so I don't know exactly what he's thinking. But it wouldn't be surprising to me if he'd at least consider Eckler. Wouldn't be surprising. Now the Bush conversation is a little more, it's a little more awkward.
Yeah,
because he already let him go. So would he go back? I don't know how that would work. So Bill would be, I'd say, extraordinary in that role. He has been very good. And the thing I like about Eckler and Bush, and you'll get pushback. I mean, I'll get pushback for saying it. I don't understand always why, but they love it here. They want it. They want it bad for this program. It means a lot to them. Eckler's from, his parents live in Fremont. And
went to school in Blair.
Yeah. Thank you, John. And he's from Blair, and he'd like to be here. That means something. It always means something to me when guys actually have an affinity and feel like they have a tie. I do think that can be meaningful. It doesn't have to. It's not a prerequisite anyway, but I always kind of like it.
So we have 3 college football games left. We have 13 NFL games left this year. And I use that as a way to lay out like that. There's essentially a timeline of the next month of football games to be played. What do you think the timeline is of knowing the whatever the staff is going to look like, whether it's people coming in or people going out? Because I mean, at the end of the season, obviously the names that everyone was wondering about were Foley, Garrett McGuire, I would say would be one of them, Barthel, and then Satterfield and Glenn Thomas. A couple of those names now, we know what's happening with them. What do you think a timeline is of knowing the rest of the staff, if it's going to stay this intact?
Oh, I mean, I don't think there's a set date. But those names you mentioned, I mean, McGuire's already settled.
Yeah.
I do tend to go out on limbs. I don't mind doing it in this case. I'd be really surprised if they made a move on Barthel. I've never heard anything to suggest that they would do that. Maybe that's a blind spot for me, but I don't think. Now I don't know on Satterfield. I don't know how that'll end up. If he'll stay and coach tight ends and still make, I think it'd be $1.4 million. That's conceivable that would happen. I guess, Josh, so I just don't ramble here. I don't know of any other moves that will be made right now
in terms of leaving the program.
Yeah, like getting fired.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anybody else like that. I mean, the move that I'm paying attention to is the hiring of a special teams coordinator. Mm-hmm. That's the one I'm most interested in. The other ones I guess I'm not overly interested in because I don't know that there's anything brewing. That's dangerous for me to say, but I don't think there is.
Sip, we always do our poll questions at the end of the season, and then we phase it out spring, early fall, early fall camp, after fall camp. And this first phase got done, and almost 60% of our listeners believe that there's going to be 8 or more wins next season. Given that there were quite a few that believed that last year, and obviously it didn't happen, team's going to look very different, especially on defense. Yep. Do you think that's a proper expectation? 8 wins or more?
Well, that's a good question. It's early, so early, but yes. Now, it's a now you get into who's doing the expecting. I mean, I think it's a reasonable fan expectation. I don't know. I mean, the only person that really matters is Troy Dannon. I don't know what his expectation is, but I would think that there is expectation now. It's gotten pretty serious now, right? I can sort of see it in the way Matt is operating now. It's different now. There is an expectation, okay? So it's a little more serious now, and it seems like the intensity and the urgency's picked up, starting with the head coach. So, I think his demeanor's changed a little bit, a little harder core now. I just think that in year 3 now, there is legit expectation, and there's some danger for him. I mean, if he would go 5-7, I don't know if he. I hate to go down that path, but we're in year 3, and is he 1 game under?
Yes.
If he'd finished 2 games under, he might not survive. So now it's gotten a little more real now. Now the good news is, I think, what I'm seeing on defense, it could be a one hell of a good-looking, good defense, and offense is the same way. Wish they would have gotten a running back. Didn't seem as I don't think they can even consider it. So it tells me they must like eyes, and Mekhi Nelson, and maybe Jamari Park or Connor Booth, all those people. But otherwise, I like what they got going.
Sip, hoops question for you. I think you and I
you
were
say hoops or poops?
Hoops. Well, poops is off the air. I'll call him later.
Okay.
I think you and I were very much in agreement on the job that Hoiberg was doing a few years back, to the point where I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think we were both like, yeah, they should move on from him. He's not doing the job right.
Yeah, I did. I wrote it a couple times.
I thought so.
Brett still stares holes in me.
So we were obviously way wrong, because this year's team, I can't remember who said it over the weekend, but it was like they are maybe it was Happer, that every year they have like started showing signs of promise, like earlier and earlier in the season. A couple years ago, it was like a nice last month. Last year, I mean, it really was much of the 2024 calendar year. It was a year ago that they got the win over Purdue, and now this year, it's basically been the entire season. How surprising is it still that they've been able to do this? And I mean, the question ultimately, of course, is like, how have they done this? Because I watch them sometimes, and I'm still kind of flabbergasted that they were able to pull the nose up.
Yeah, they pulled the nose up, and it started with getting rid of Matt Abdelmassih.
Yeah.
And that was a big. I mean, that saved him. That saved Fred. That move saved him. The roster management. They put together rosters that were ill-equipped for the style that the Big Ten plays. It's a risk of oversimplifying this question. Fred's done a great job now in the last few years of putting together a roster that does work very well. And this one is probably the best, I'd say, might be the best example. It's big and veteran, and that's what Fred identified a couple of years ago. That's what he wants, big and veteran. Good chemistry. It's not easy to do. To just put guys together in the portal era and actually work well together and fit pieces that fit. I think you'd agree that early in Fred's tenure, it looked like they brought in a bunch of players and kind of hoped they'd fit.
Yep.
I have to think back on those rosters, but that was what I always thought. It looked like, okay, we got our guys. Let's see if we can make this work. As opposed to, as we go through this process of building our roster, we're going to put pieces together that make sense. And now this team, I guess the best way to put it, to me anyway, makes sense. It's a team that makes sense, the way it's constructed. And I don't know. I mean, they've done really well. The wins against Indiana and UCLA at home, and Creighton winner. What do you say? They're just very good wins. It's a pretty good team. I said it to Robin when we were watching the UCLA game. I just said they're pretty good. I mean, this is legit. I don't think they'll go away.
Steve Sipple of Husker Online won't shake hands with me on the "we need more shop" class, but
I don't think you're wrong. I just think I got a jack. I bought a jack, a big, a good jack, a few months ago.
like a car jack?
Yeah, car jack.
Yeah.
At Harbor Freight, and I was putting it together, and I just realized this is not even this isn't even what the instructions say.
Wait, you bought a car jack that you had to assemble?
Yeah, you had to assemble it to a certain degree.
Really?
Yeah, and the instructions were ridiculous.
Did it come from China?
They just took you in a way on a route that didn't make any sense.
I didn't know you had to assemble a jack.
A friend of mine who's a mechanic alerted me to it. He said, "Yeah, it's very common nowadays that the directions are just deeply flawed. That it's probably something you don't even need to look at."
I would never have guessed that if you bought a car jack that you would need to assemble, except for the one that you get with the car, that comes with the spare tire, but that's not like a good car jack. That's just for serious emergencies.
I had to buy a big one, like a race car jack, because I have a friend whose pickup sunk into. It really did. It sunk into rocks, and it just became we just had to jack it out of there, but it required a big jack.
Why were they driving their pickup in a place where it sunk into a bunch of rocks?
Complicated story.
You doing some off-roading, Sip? Is that what you're doing?
No, it wasn't. It was in the driveway.
In the driveway?
The city of Manawa replaced the rock in my friend's driveway, and they put in the wrong sort of rock.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and her truck sunk into it.
Ooh, that sounds terrible.
It was awful.
Should have made the city of Manawa build that jack.
That was my refrain for weeks.
That is the adventures of living in the country.
Well, Manawa is not exactly the country,
right? But if your
driveway,
driveway has rock, I mean,
right.
You're not living in Josh's gated community.
It's some paved and some rock.
Yeah. Listen, it's a Midwestern life. It's a good life. We call it the good life.
We do.
Yes, it's a cold life.
It's so
right
cold.
Now, it's a very cold life.
I'm so ready for spring, Sip.
All right.
We've only had this for a few days. It's not like we've been suffering under the yoke of this weather for a month and a half.
I now understand why old people move away to warmer climate. I totally get it. Every winter, it's colder on my older bones. Every winter.
Yeah, but there's a reason why those places are a lot more expensive to live in.
Because it's warm.
Because all the olds are there, taking up all the resources.
Yeah, they're jacks.
Just park it here, Josh. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
I mean, you gotta
see, but I go outside all the time. That's what I'm outside. I was outside for 75 minutes this morning. That's a long time.
That's a you problem.
It is a me problem. I'm a freak.
You should go to the mall.
Yeah, I ran today.
The malls aren't very busy these days. Go run at the mall.
Oh my gosh,
Josh, that's incredible. Except, like, I saw like a 22-year-old girl running the other day when I was kind of like you, grousing about the cold, and she just trots by with her, with a pink coat on and earmuffs. I'm just like, oh God.
Yeah, that was me. It wasn't a pink coat. It was a black pullover that I got for Christmas, and I had a blue hat. Covered my ears.
It's
cold.
And the thing is, cold doesn't have to be a factor if you dress appropriately.
The wind, though, it wouldn't have been so bad if it wasn't for the wind.
Dress appropriately.
All right. My beard was frozen. It's cold.
You damn runners are so picky. Oh, it's 70 degrees. It's too hot. Oh, it's 15 degrees. It's too cold. It's like, come on.
I just want a 50-degree morning. That's what I want again. Dare to dream. It'll happen someday.
Sip, have an awesome week.
Bye, Sip.
Thank you, guys. It's good being with you again.
Yes, it's good to be with you. Good to hear your voice
Happy New
again.
Year,
Happy New
Sipple.
Year.
Happy New Year to you. Bye.
Nice.
There he is, Steve Sipple.
First time we're chatting with him in the new year.
It is. First time in the new year.
When I confirmed with him this morning, he said, holy crap, Yes.
Holy crap. It's good to talk to
Holy
him.
crap, he said.
Jordan says Sip must not know about runner's temperature. Exactly.
Yeah, it's all in their damn
How
head.
many miles did you go since you were out there for 75 minutes?
10 miles today, Nick.
That's a lot of miles.
A lot of miles.